There is only a porous line between good and evil, and almost anyone can be swayed to cross it under circumstantial stimuli. But some people have crossed it insanely and trespassed the borders of humanity to put innocent lives to death. The devilish grin of these psychopaths and their ferocious demeanor towards victims will make your blood run cold. Today we bring the 10 most evil people you might not have heard of. We're counting down our picks for the 10 most terrifying and disturbing evil killers of all time. This is Crime Flicks, your #1 stop for crime stories. Before we get into the video, subscribe to Crime Flicks to help us bring you the best crime content. Thank you. We start with number 10, Shawn Grate. The notorious American killer Shawn Grate stalked northern Ohio, slaughtering women after sexually assaulting them. He was said to have a troubled childhood since his mother left the family when he was 11, and he was said to be depressed as a teenager. As a teen, he was known as a charmer, which masked his dark side. Grate murdered at least 5 people, including 2 ex-girlfriends and 3 other women in Ohio between 2006 and 2016. According to the autopsy reports, his victims were severely strangled, brutally beaten, and stabbed. He was arrested in September 2016 when a woman called Jane Doe called 911 asking for assistance after Grate kidnapped her. She was sexually abused and assaulted consecutively for 3 days before she managed to get hold of 911. Grate was given the death sentence after he was found guilty of 2 killings. As of now, his execution is scheduled for March 19, 2025.
Hate, bitterness, and then all of India, it's work on that.
Number 9, Jamie Osuna. Jamie is a convicted murderer and serial killer sentenced to death in 2019 for the killing and dismembering of 37-year-old Yvette Pena in the El Morocco Motel hotel room in Bakersfield, California. Osuna is also known as the Man with 1,000 Faces, referring to the tattoos, including Joker's smile and a pentagram covering his face. He also proved to be a notoriously violent inmate of the California prison system. When asked about his motive for the killing, he said that the murder was done statistically, premeditatively, and deliberately to torture and kill the woman when he found an opportunity. He proudly boasted about how he killed Pena so that he could have lasting memories of the ordeal. During the trial, Osuna openly ridiculed the members of Pena's family by smiling and waving at them.
There's a lot of people who do drugs, so if they're screaming and yelling and stuff like that, no one's gonna call the cops.
According to psychiatrists, Osuna was diagnosed with several antisocial personality disorders, likely due to his rough childhood. Number 8, the Doodler. This unidentified serial killer is thought to have killed between 6 to 16 people, of which 3 were lucky enough to live. He was given the nickname of the Doodler, aka the Black Doodler, because he used to draw sketches of his victims before killing them. It is said that he would target homosexual men. Somehow, the Doodler successfully carried out multiple murders in different locations without being caught, and authorities believe his final victim was in 1975. Number 7, Charles Tex Watson. The American criminal Tex Watson and the Manson family cult leader led by Charles Manson, along with 2 female cult members, killed actress Sharon Tate and 4 others. He spent his early life in juvenile reformatories or prison for petty crimes, including armed robbery and burglary. He fled to Texas because he knew the cops were after him, but he was soon arrested and deported to California. After this event, he refused to talk and eat, so he lost 55 pounds and began regressing to a deadpan state. He was admitted to a hospital for 90 days, but was found competent to stand trial. After that, Following his trial in 1971, Watson was convicted of killing 7 people. Number 6. Dale Hosner and Samuel Deitman. The serial crime duo Dale Hosner and Samuel Deitman, both in their early 30s, committed their crimes for almost 15 months, from May 2005 to August 2006 in Arizona. Both of them were found to be under the influence of methamphetamine. They would randomly set objects on fire and drive around the target and shoot at pedestrians and animals, especially dogs and horses, that they came across. It is believed that the pair killed 8 and shot 29 people. Their violent rampage stopped when a series of spies helped connect Hosner and Deitman to their crimes. Hosner was found guilty of over 80 atrocities accused of him in a single trial. He was sentenced to death 6 times, but he murdered himself before he could be executed. So what do you guys think about this video? Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications whenever new crime-related videos are posted. Moving on. Number 5. Israel Keyes. In 2012, Israel Keyes was arrested for the murder of 18-year-old Samantha Koenig in Alaska, but the cops later realized he was a prolific serial killer. Keyes freely admitted the crimes were committed between 2001 and 2012. He is suspected of committing more than 11 murders in his bloodthirsty rage. Keyes also started his serial killing fantasy by killing animals for pleasure. Once, he skinned an animal alive in front of other churchgoers. He admitted raping 2 women. After his discharge, he committed 4 murders in Washington. Keyes was eventually arrested in Texas on March 13, 2012. He was later deported to Alaska, but ultimately committed suicide in jail on December 2, 2012, in his cell. He left behind drawings of 11 skulls, which many believe represented his 11 victims, and a pentagram. Though Keyes had a random choice of his victims, it is believed that a tremendous amount of planning went into these crimes. Number 4. Jeffrey Dahmer. The list of expert serial killers is incomplete if the name of the heinous Jeffrey Dahmer is not mentioned. You might be familiar with this guy since Netflix featured him in a true crime drama, Dahmer Monster, in September 2021. Dahmer is said to have murdered and dismembered 17 people over 13 years. He was also known to possess pedophilia, cannibalism, and necrophilia. An unhappy childhood was the triggering factor behind this evil man, as his first murder was done soon after the divorce of his parents. Dahmer's murder instinct resumed during his late 20s and early 30s, with most of his targets being black. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. However, destiny did not grant him much time on Earth, as his fellow inmate in prison killed him on November 28, 1994. Number 3. William Bonan. William Bonan was also known as the Freeway Killer or Freeway Strangler because most of his victims were found dumped along a highway between May 1979 and June 1980. Bonan killed 21 young men and boys in Southern California. Bonan was said to have had a rough upbringing and grew up with his mother, who didn't accept his homosexuality. Bonan's life went upside down once his fiancée left him to marry another man. He began kidnapping and raping young boys in his car. Though he was arrested and kept in custody many times, his crimes would only continue and intensify upon his release. The stint in prison did not curb his criminal behavior. He began killing his victims and was eventually caught after killing a minimum of 21 boys and possibly 15 others without evidence to prove Bonan's responsibility for his crimes. He was punished with a death sentence when he was 49. He was the first person in California to be put to death that way. Number 2. Robert Hansen. Robert Hansen is a serial killer with at least 21 victims and many other cold cases suspected to be linked to him. Hansen was said to have had a hard childhood. Though he joined the military, he opened a bakery in Anchorage, Alaska. Although he appeared to be just a simple, humble baker, Hansen had a darker side that he concealed from members of his community. Throughout the 70s and early 80s, Hansen would prey on sex workers and dancers. He would bring his victims to his cabin and set them loose in the dense Alaskan wilderness. Then, after giving them some time to run and hide, he'd hunt them like animals. Fortunately for one of his victims, she could get away and report it to the police. However, as more women started to disappear, the FBI eventually got involved, and a profile of the killer was developed, which Hansen fit into. In 1984, Hansen confessed to killing 17 women. He died while in custody in 2014. Number 1. Gary Ridgeway. Gary Ridgeway, known by his notorious nickname, the Green River Killer, is the country's second most prolific serial killer. He got his nickname based on the river where his first 5 victims were found dead. A team of intelligent investigators had been formed to track him down, but the identity of the murderer remained a mystery for a decade. At the same time, dozens of girls and women were found missing and were found months or years later as corpses or ashes. In late 2001, when officials caught Gary, he was a commercial truck painter. Since the case had turned cold and the killings seemed to have stopped, it was difficult to prove his involvement in all the suspected murderers. Ridgeway confessed to killing 71 people from 1982 to 1998. It's speculated that he may have killed up to 90 people or more. Most of his victims were teenage girls and women in Washington. Ridgeway shocked the public with his confession to psychologists about his sexual attraction to his mother and his fantasies about killing her. It's hard to imagine that the human mind can venture to such gruesome places, but all of these killers are a testament to the dark side of humanity. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Flicks. Bye.